Okay, here we are back at the stereo light microscope. I have cleaned out with paper towels and Windex. As usual, I've turned on the light source. I've placed my sample underneath the microscope. I turned on the camera. I turned on the computer and logged in. I found the EOS Utility 2 and the camera and the computer are talking with one another. So we're all set to go. I have it on the lowest, well, not quite the lowest magnification. Now it's on the lowest magnification, which makes it easier to find what you want to photograph. And I'm going to look through the eyepieces, and I'll show you first here. This is the shell of the blue mussel here. So you can focus in on the blue mussel. And I have my light source up as high as it will go. So my shutter speed is still pretty slow, 1/20th of a second. So we'll experience motion blur if things are moving around quickly, like this little critter here that's jumping around on the shell. But we just have to try our best. This is the strongest light that we have, and I'm just going to give it a try, take a photograph, and not too bad, looks pretty good. It might be a little bit overexposed. This is actually the animal. You can see there's two sides of the shell. This is the top shell and this is the bottom shell, and he's kind of sneaking out a little bit here. I'll move over so you can see that a little bit better. And it's sneaking back into the shell again. I'll try to get a picture when it comes out a little more. Okay, so we have a picture of the critter right here. Okay, but what I really wanted to photograph was the sea anemone called Metridium, and there are 3 or 4 on this particular mussel. So here we can see a pretty big one. I'll try to focus a little bit, and I'll take a photograph of that guy. But I saw a smaller one that looks a little nicer, which is right here. So take a photo. It's not too bad. Maybe we can put it over here a little bit. Sometimes I like to get rid of some of the junk that's floating around in there, and we can do that by taking a pipette. I'll go get one. Okay, I'm going to just try to blow off some of the dirt and stuff like that. And it might take them a minute or two to recover from that. Obviously, he didn't like it very much when I did that, but you can see it kind of opens up like a flower. It's quite beautiful, I think. And try to focus this guy a little bit. These beautiful translucent tentacles that it has. And what you want to do is take a whole bunch of photos of this guy, and so you can kind of pick out your favorite after a while. As the tentacles move around, he kind of changes shape, and you'll get one that you really like, I'm sure. Something like that. Then we can look around a little bit to see if we can see anything else that might be worth photographing. These strings here are excreted by the mussel, and it's these finger-like projections that they use to fasten to the dock or whatever substrate they're on. So it's kind of like a glue. They glue it to their shell, and then they glue it to the substrate so they don't float away. It's kind of a nice shot. Here we can see more of those fibers that are coming from inside the shell of the animal, and we'll just get another shot of this. Set this up here. So you can see that I tore these ends off of the dock. They were fastened to the dock, holding the animal in place. So maybe a shot of that. Okay. And I'll just move around a tiny bit more, see if there's anything else might be fun to photograph. There's that bigger one we saw earlier. Again, you can play with the light, and get a different type of effect, a little more dramatic effect. This one. Here's another one. This is the one we shot right here, this one here. And then there's another one down here. It's not my favorite. There's too much dirt on this is the cloth, the black cloth, and there's a lot of dirt on it now. I mean, if I were redoing this, I would take the cloth out and clean it off and try again. Here's another critter. I'm not quite sure what this is. I'd have to look it up. No, it's a hydroid. See this here? It's a hydroid. A little bright for me, so now I'm going to play with exposure compensation. Open that up, and I'm going to drop it down below 0, 1/3 of a stop below 0. There, that's a little nicer. And now you can see these hydroids coming out. There's one up here. So let's see if we can zoom in on that. Maybe, whoops, yikes. Okay, so we can focus in on this, and maybe we can zoom in on it, because this is the zoom view. This isn't really the photograph. The photograph will be live view here. So, oh, here's another one. How about these over here? These are kind of cool. Yeah, nice. Look how beautiful that is. So let's close this, and we'll zoom up a little bit. Play with the light. Get those guys nice and sharp. Take our shot. And not too bad. Again, the cloth in the background doesn't look that great here. I would play with that a little bit more and try to get the background to be totally dark. I mean, one way of doing that is to bend the light source so that light is not falling on the cloth, just only on the critter. Sometimes it's easier said than done. It's a little better, but still it's problematic, I'd say. Sometimes if you move one wand at a time, you can kind of figure out which light, the left or the right, is doing what. It kind of helps you a little bit. A little too bright, so I'm going to go back to exposure compensation, and I'm going to go down to a full stop. It's getting a little bit better there. Now if we put that into Photoshop, that's image 0022. See if I can find that. I'll close this down. Okay, so let's try to play with that in Photoshop. If I open up my folder and scroll down, this is our photograph. This is the JPEG version, and this is the raw CR2 file. I'm going to try that one. Let's pull this one down into Photoshop, see if we can get that to open. Then click Open Image, and here we have our photograph. And the first thing I'd like to do is crop it because I want to focus on this part in the middle. So I click get a little closer here. Let's get in right nice and tight on this shot. Then if I double click the mouse, that finishes my crop for me. I think this is a little disturbing. Could pull even closer and get a shot like this. And then we can use a filter like sharpen. Let's see if that helps. Sometimes it doesn't. Yeah, in that case I don't think it helps. It's too low of a resolution, so I'm going to go back to undo, and I'm going to go to adjustments, and I like to play with brightness and contrast. So I'm going to bring the contrast up a little bit here, and then just bring the brightness up. Well, actually I'm going to bring the brightness down a little bit. I think it looks a little better. And hit OK, and go to hue and saturation. Sometimes helps a little bit. If you just go up a tiny bit in saturation. Of course, I'm using Photoshop. I'm using it in an art sense, not in a science sense, because we have to be very careful about manipulating data, or not manipulating it, of course. And so I wouldn't do these steps if it were scientific material. But there we go. I think that one looks okay, and I'm just going to save that image. I'm going to change the name. I'm just going to call it the same image number, and I'm going to type in edit. That's going to save to my folder, and hit OK. And I'm going to close Photoshop. Let's see if here it is. Here's the final shot in my folder. Okay, everyone, that's it for today. Please come in over the weekend or early next week and get some shots of some of the marine invertebrates in the touch tank using the stereo light microscope. And when you're done, please remember to put the animals back into the touch tank and clean up a little bit. And good luck. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.